because
Oh, sorry. It's okay. I can cut it out then. Hold on. It's just what's going to go on the actual Facebook is not going to be this, but all right. So hold on. So Holy Spirit, can you please reveal to Sumi right now with full clarity what she's going to speak on? Picture, your voice, a knowing. They gave it to you?
Well, I mean, from earlier today, I kept getting my scoliosis.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's a thing.
Okay.
It's pretty traumatic.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just praying God breaks the trauma as you speak. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll if we need to afterwards. Okay. So let me let's go to hold on.
Wait, where is this being?
It's going to be in my Amanda Helman author page.
Okay. Okay. So Amanda, you lead me.
Okay. Yep. I'll introduce you and then I will say how we met. And then if you want to add anything onto that, you can. And then I will ask you questions and then I will summarize, or, if I have a question, I'll ask you, but usually I just ask you those 3 questions. We're on for like 20, 30 minutes. All right, so here we go. I'm proud of you, by the way. Okay. We are now going live. Check on my little phone. We are. So hello, everybody, and welcome to our episode of the Traumaplicity Talk Show. I'm Dr. Amanda Helman, and it is so great to see all of you. I'm going to go on in just a moment because some of you are, I believe, always watching. So the Traumaplicity show is Trauma plus Simplicity. What do you mean, Dr. Amanda? Well, this is looking at, instead of complexity, our brain doesn't always like complex, it likes simple. So looking at simple ways that we can heal in our process. And when we know there's simple step-by-step, it gives us the brave way to move ahead. And so that's what we do on the Traumaplicity. We have guests every week. And this year I'm really honored to have Sumi Hurst, a friend that I've known, another fellow entrepreneur, coach in a different realm. We're both from a same group of 100Xs where we met. We've done some things together and we both have a passion to see people healed. And she has such a sweet heart. And so, yes, she has such a sweet heart and really has an amazing testimony. So Sumi is here to share her story and her strategy. So Sumi, it's so great to have you on. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amanda, for having me. I'm honored to be on your platform here. Yeah,
absolutely.
I love the work that you do, and I agree. We both have a heart to see people healed, and so I'm excited. I'm excited and nervous at the same time.
I understand. And yeah, I think we do. And I know that you love, you just have a heart for people, for kids. We have very similar yet different areas. So I always enjoy talking and hearing you. So today, what we're doing is I have some people commenting. So, and if you're on here, hi there, Lynn, we're actually on. So hopefully you see this. I'm thinking they are, but so yes, if you are on, there are people watching. So if you have any questions or comments for Sumi, those of you watching, please put them. I'm actually in my comments, so I will actually answer live. So we are going to talk about Sumi and just part of your trauma story, or perhaps an event that has happened that has impacted your life. So Sumi, can you share?
Amanda, I feel like the Lord just switched it up a second.
Okay. That's okay. We'll go with it. That's just how it goes.
Okay. Well, the older you get and the more healing you go through, and the journey that you're on with God, it kind of, you get healed. You're healed in certain areas when you're able to really publicly speak about it in a way where it's a testimony of his goodness. And so for me, one of the things in my life that was pretty traumatic, I would say, I mean, and by traumatic, I mean, it really played a negative effect as I was growing up in my identity as a child of God. And I would say I was raised around a lot of anger. Like my father was a super angry person. And he was also, I know he had a huge heart, but he had a lot of daddy issues. He had a lot of abandonment issues. And so a lot of that generational stuff just spilled over. Like he was just not able to be the father that I know in his heart he wanted to be to us. And it manifested not just in anger, but there was a lot of things that wrecked the family environment. It was literally like me grabbing my brother, running into the closet. Some days we'd come home from school just to escape like the yelling in the house kind of thing, right? And I've always not shared the full extent of this with my kids because I'm waiting for them to kind of grow a little bit more before we share these things. But it's a testimony, right? It's a testimony of God's goodness. And so I feel like because we grew up in that and, not really, my father is still not a believer. I'm believing that he will come to Christ before, he passes. But so it was pretty traumatic. And it reminded me of my first inner healing session, actually. And I did not know what inner healing was until probably when I first got married. And we started going to this tiny little church that was practicing to hear the voice of God and brought all these speakers in. And they started sozo sessions, inner healing sessions. Anyway, I mean, there's a long history of the amount of things that I've walked through as a child. And I have to say my identity was pretty much, what's the word, Dr. Amanda? It was really like off. The perspective of what I saw in the mirror of myself, and who I was not at all close to what the Lord had created me to be. And it was really just a lot of like, just, so I grew up. And another part of this is what's interesting is I didn't realize until I was an adult, or at least in my 20s, just how sensitive my spirit was. Like as a person, I was like so sensitive. And so living in a household where there was a lot of anger, a lot of negativity was definitely not conducive to, the sensitivity that I grew up with. And it wasn't honed in the right way. Like my parents just always thought like, oh, she's so sensitive. And that would be the extent of it. But so it's been a very long journey, and I'm now 50 next year. And I have to say, it's been like 20 years. It's been a 20-year journey. And that one first session, Dr. Amanda, I realized then, like it took me 3 sessions, first of all, to even hear or see anything. And I honestly, most people might have been like, you know what, I'm just going to give up and not like, but something kept bringing me back. And on my 3rd session, finally, the person who was running the session saw a picture. That's what I saw. And she asked me if I saw something. And I said no, because I didn't trust what God was speaking to me. When she spoke what she did, it was the exact picture of myself as a child. And it was a picture, like my father was there, my brother was there, I was there. And I didn't realize the pain of even something, in that moment. And so that was the beginning journey of a lot of, inner healing. And 20 years later, guys, 20 years later, my children are mostly grown. I have a college student who's in 2nd year of college, and I have a teenager still. And the journey still walks itself out, but I've received a lot of healing Um, yeah. And even raising my own kids, I have to say, guys, being the first generation believer and learning to really walk through and press in, not just for my own healing, but to kind of, want to leave a legacy for my kids, like not have them go through the same generational stuff. Like there was a huge battle in my own life as I raised my own kids. Like anger crept up in my child rearing in the beginning. Like I was like, oh, whoa, no, no, no. I'm not going to do a repeat. You know what I mean? But it took a while. It really took a lot of healing. It took a lot of prayers from people. It took a lot of, you know, it was a hard journey, but the Lord really is good. He really is a good father.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you, Sumi, for sharing, first of all, about fathers. Because a lot of times there's people that might be watching your audience or later with a father wound. And a lot of times when we see our parents, it's all we know. And then we either are responding that same way, or like you said, sometimes we just hold it all in and we think, okay, like this is just how it is. Or sometimes like we just don't even know how we're responding. Like we learn these patterns. And then even for you, where you're like, okay, I really want to talk to my children about this, but not yet, but it's something important because it impacted your identity. It shaped your identity. And also thinking about other people, because again, sometimes our families don't even know they're carrying out, as you mentioned, a lot of generational trauma or even other things. And even for you, when you started to realize, okay, what was this anger? Even like, what am I dealing with? Even how am I responding to things? And even after that first session, up to 3, where you're going back and like, there has to be something. And you finally had that revelation where you're like, oh my gosh, like this is what's going on. This is where I'm seeing. And having that confirmation is key, because sometimes we don't realize how deep this is. And there is hope, like you are going deeper, but we don't even realize how much either we bottle it up or we're expressing it. And sometimes anger is so different because we get scared, right? It's like an emotion where like there's so much underneath it. And so I really appreciate, Simi, that you were sharing, so deeply about that, because it is like we want to have good relationships with our father and our mother, but there are things sometimes that we're going through and even working through to understand our pain of where those relationships weren't what we thought it could be, and we didn't even know what it could look like. And that brings up a lot of confusion. And so, hopefully as people are watching, even if people have questions now or later, certainly a lot of us may relate, because there are perceived emotions and there's really things that happen that were negative or painful to us, and they all matter. So thank you, Sumi, for sharing about that. I didn't know if there was anything you want to add in terms of that, before I continue, because if you do, you can certainly continue with that.
Well, did you have a question for me?
Well, the next one was just about some different steps that you've done to like help you overcome the journey. So I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to share in relation to like what you shared about your journey to now.
Well, I have to say that the key, I feel like one of the keys to overcoming it was also like really not harboring bitterness towards my dad. And the more I got to know my heavenly father, the more I got to really understand, the woundedness of my own earthly father. And so, at the end of the day, it actually hurt my heart that he still doesn't know that he's so loved by a real father in heaven. And so, it's I feel like that's one of the keys. And there's a lot of people that I know that deal with the daddy issues or the mommy issues, and it takes a really long time to forgive and to overcome that part. But I can't stress enough how much that holds a key to your healing, So yeah. And honestly, I have to say, like, it felt like hell some days. It really did. And I remember, like, as a child, as a teen, looking at other families and being like, I would love to have a family like that. But God is so good and so redeeming that I have been really lucky to have now in my own life children and a husband where we don't live, you know, in that exact same environment kind of thing. Because one of my things is I call it legacy architecture. It's like I have fought so hard for 20 years, like as I raised my kids, to really keep myself in line, with my own heart wounds, so that my kids can be free of a lot more than I was,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's important. And also in the audience too, because again, so you may know that was like a process to do that. It took some time, and it's important to go there. And sometimes we don't even realize how deeply ingrained like some of our emotions are within our body, the deepness, how it even, and even if there's things that come up, because I know sometimes like we don't realize. So we're like at that place where we want to forgive, or like we have our heart, but there's still those emotions tied to it. So also knowing that wherever you are, like that, like Sumi was able to shift that, and it's possible. But honoring where you are, like if you're really going through it, to be able to honor that and identify what you're feeling, to then process it too.
Yeah.
So some of you may be in a journey, and there is a journey with it. I believe that's happened to me, and that's my process. And again, Sumi like has a different process, but she's sharing like that there is ways to that over time it's possible to allow that healing.
Yeah.
Sumi, are there other things that you did or other steps that helped you in the simple steps that you may have taken that helped you with the healing or navigating this journey of the father wound?
I think my story is a little bit, there was something that was that an event that happened that was pretty big for me, to even start that healing journey. And I mean, I kind of sometimes I kind of hesitate to share, because I don't want, people to feel, well, so because of the father issues, it probably took me a whole lot longer to really believe that what I was hearing was the father's voice. Does you know what I mean? Because we related to our earthly father. So I just was always just like, I don't understand when people say that, the Lord said, or, they felt like they saw something or heard something, and I could not, like, it was just completely blocked for me. And I didn't believe also that I was able to hear it from the Father like that, like the way other people would. I had a huge encounter at a conference once, and that was the moment, like the Lord used other people to speak to me things that only the Father in heaven and myself would have known. And it was one of my, really monumental moments in life that like changed me completely. And so starting from there was when I started, like the little steps you're talking about. It was really like the little steps. It was seeking who the Father was to me. And it was like the longest journey, I have to tell you, for me to hear his voice, and to just sense, like how he's speaking to you. And so what were the steps? I mean, I read the word a lot. I, would go searching and ask a lot of questions, and, I would sit, and there were times where I'd sit in prayer and I would just say, Lord, I'm not going to leave this position until I hear from you. You know what I mean? And sometimes it would be like hours. I'd be sitting there for like hours, and it'd be like, so I actually practiced, you guys, like I practiced, trying to hear the Lord's voice. And so I read a lot of books. And it was just, little steps like that. And people, it's so important to have the right folks walking alongside you to speak wisdom into your life, and to pray for you. Like I would take prayer any day over, you know what I mean? Like it's just amazing. And I know that there's a lot of things in our brain, like memory wise, like on the cellular level, that happen. And Dr. Amanda, I know you know a lot about that, which when I heard another person speak on it, I was just like, wow, I had not even recognized or knew that that was even a thing, that our cells remember these things. Yeah. So yeah, it's a constant walk even now. I have not arrived in any way whatsoever. But I'm definitely a lot more healed up in my identity, of being a child of God. And so yeah, I just want to encourage those that are dealing with a lot of different things. Like it could be depression, it could be, constantly hearing that little nagging voice in the back of your head that's like, yeah, no, that's not for me. I don't get to have those things, or I don't get to, be that favored or blessed and all those other things. Like if you're in that place, just know that that is such a lie. And the Father has everything for you. And he's a generous Father. He really is a generous Father. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I love that when you were sharing strategies to me, it was a lot about your willingness to go through a journey of that healing process. And you also had a lot of prayer, like you had some of those as you're going through this, like hearing other people share about things that only you would know, like so that as you were hearing God's voice and that process, and also like the prayer time, just really seeking the Lord and your journey of what is going on here and how can I hear, and I'm waiting and I'm seeking you because I want to have this breakthrough. And I think that's beautiful, and even encouraging other people, because all of, whether you're watching and you're on a different journey, or you're like, I don't know about God, or like you do know about God, it is a journey, and he knows where you are. And he knows what we're going through, and even things that have happened, as Sumi mentioned, in us individually and as trauma, and generationally. Yeah. And he knows that. And I think that's why God has that compassion, because he knows the whole story. He knows everything we don't know about our entire life and our entire family history. And that God, as we shift, because a lot of times, as Sumi mentioned, like we have our family understanding of God because we learned from our family, and then we're undoing all of that, and we're releasing so much to really learn who we are and how God sees us truly in his heart. So I love that, Sumi, that you were sharing that, and even that encouragement to the audience. And I was going to actually ask if you had encouragement, but you did. But is there any other lasting words you want to share to people who may be watching or watch us later? Just one final phrase or one more thing for people who may have been where you were, or on the journey of the process of healing.
I would say that God is always on time. And it's just a constant reminding yourself that there is no one on planet Earth that is like you. And truly, truly, what it says in the word, that we are created in our mom's wombs, and it is so planned by our Father that yeah, I'm just grateful that I, by his grace and his goodness, was able to continue on that journey of pushing forward for healing, because had it gone the other way, I'm sure it would not be fun. And what I know to be true, and that what the Lord has shown me time and time again, he really is a way maker. And he really is, like, I've had people show up out of nowhere, strangers, complete strangers. And it's like, sometimes when we're on the journey and we're looking at only what's in front of us and what surrounds us, versus kind of pulling back and looking from an aerial point view, do you know what I mean? And seeing things from a different perspective. It's like every day I had to really meditate and remind myself as I read the truth of the word, like who I was, even when a lot of things were not looking that way in front of me. And I gotta tell you, if you're a person out there that feels like everything has come against you, I promise you that that is an indicator that you need to push forward even more, because you have something on your life that the Lord has gifted you with, that has blessed you with, that other people need to, receive from. So don't give up. And there is joy. There truly is joy and peace that surpasses all understanding, that only comes from the Father, even in the most worst of circumstances. Truly, truly, I have witnessed it in my own life over and over again. And this whole social media life, if you're a young person, I know it looks like a lot of people, in the world online looks like life is amazing. And they don't have that many problems, but everyone has something that they're dealing with. So you're not alone. You're not alone. And the worst thing to do is to sit with it by yourself. That is the worst thing. Do not let shame be your friend. Shame has no place in the kingdom. And you need to speak to someone trustworthy who has wisdom, who you can share with and bring those things to life, and to bring it to light so it can be healed and that it can be exchanged with the truth of what God says you are.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Well, thank you, Sumi. Yes. And to exchange that with the truth, getting that light and that encouragement. So thank you, Sumi, so much for your thoughtfulness, for being here. I'm sure whether it be now, this is Traumaplicity Talk Show on my Amanda Helman author speaker page. And we are here every Wednesday, 7 p.m. And I usually have a guest. Sometimes I surprise you with my own little spiel. And I love to hear different people with different backgrounds and how they're processing different parts of their lives. And certainly if you're tuning in now on this Facebook page, or perhaps you're going to be later on the Facebook and the podcast, you certainly can ask questions, or you have any comments. We would love to hear that. Lynn, my friend Lynn said, thank you for sharing this. So she was appreciative to me. And she said it really spoke directly to her.
Bless you, Lynn.
Awesome. So thank you, Lynn. And anybody else watching, if you tuned in, we would love to hear, because I just did ask, what did you learn in the comments? And if you have any other questions for Sumi, I know Sumi, I talked to her, I can get in touch. So if you do have questions, please put them there. Otherwise, all of you I will catch you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. But I want to just say you all matter. You're loved. And you're seen even when you don't feel like it. And so we just want to extend that to you. And just again, that hope that there's another day, a hope that even tonight that there is something more. There's another day. And I think one of my favorite quotes by Dr. Diane Langberg is that if you don't know how to hope and you don't know how to have peace right now, that we can hope for you and we can hold on with you for you, because sometimes you don't know how to do that. So we're here for you and believing for you. So thank you so much, Sumi, for being on here.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Amanda.
Yes, thank you. Take care,
You're
everybody.
amazing.
Yeah, you're amazing too. So thank you all. Take care. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.